retail, you've got normal institutions. It just feels like we are at escape velocity. Listen, we're going to have to close above and stay above 106, 107 for 3-4 days, but that'll open up 130, 150, and then you're in price discovery. And so why is it happening? A, adoption, and B, you look at what's going on in DC. We're not going to have a 3% budget deficit this year. We're going to have a higher than last year budget deficit, which was not in anyone's bingo card, right? I love Scott Bessent. I think he's doing a good job, but he was promising us 3%. Bessent, well, you do not erode the confidence in the largest bond market in the world when you owe $35 trillion. That would be like the definition of insanity.
But Arthur's take is they kind of have to if they're going to fix the trade imbalance, right? And like capital controls might be the next thing, and then yields will increase. But the way that Bessent gets out of that is basically he calls Powell, and we get quantitative easing, V2. And
listen, the Fed is staying so far away from this. Just look at every Powell press conference. He does not want to go in and have to support the market. You're not going to see Bessent might use his authority to go buy long bonds, but Powell's not coming in to say I'm buying long bonds because it's not his role, right? Like this is self-inflicted by this administration. And I think you're going to see a bit of a Mexican standoff. If Powell thinks stability is at risk, if he thinks inflation is at risk or jobs, he'll move. But he's got that dual mandate and a little bit of market stability. And so, we'll see. If the bond market's in free fall, and we've had the largest, debt in the history of the world, it accelerated a tremendous amount during Trump won and Biden won, right? We had bad debt before Trump won, but then it was already expanding, and then COVID happened, and both parties were like, oh, it's a party. Now, they had to do something, right, in a pandemic, but they did a lot more than they needed to. And now we're suffering from it.
So let's say we get a continuation of this, right? The bond sell-off, yields increase. We get sort of the U.S.'s version of a Liz Truss moment. What happens?
You're going to have to see more fiscal hawkishness, right? And so this package that they put out, we're cutting taxes on tips, cutting taxes on overtime, not raising taxes on anyone, and spending more on the military. The market's saying no, spend less.
So fiscal reform, spend less.
I think you've got to tighten fiscal. The Fed's in an awkward position because, if they're not going to raise rates, but this becomes inflationary. Like when the bond market is selling off, it's telling you're worried about even the strong dollar, but cyclically they'd like the dollar to weaken.
Yeah.
Right. And so how do you talk out of both sides of your mouth and actually be authentic? Right? Is being honest. It's like, hey, cyclically we're a little too strong, but broadly we believe in the strong dollar. Listen, when the dollar weakens, me and you as Americans get poorer. Our trip to Europe costs more. Our Italian couch costs more. Our Mercedes costs more. Therefore, we're poorer.
Yeah, but isn't the argument though that when you talk about we're poor, right? It's all the people that can go to Europe and buy fancy couches and such. Right? Isn't the argument for a weaker dollar that, hey, we lost U.S. manufacturing in this country. In order to get it back, we have to rebalance our trade deficit with the rest of the world. And because you have things like the Triffin dilemma, right? You can't be the global reserve asset and then also have high dollar and expect U.S. manufacturing to stay in America. It's going to be just exported on the strong dollar.
Yeah, listen, I think a country that's big and powerful doesn't back their currency by anything. Now, they could say, hey, we have reserves, we're a wealthy country, and so that's, by definition, you could say everything's backed by the assets of your country, the tax-paying ability, the tax collecting ability. But every country should be AAA in its own currency, right? You can print as much of it as you want. You're not going to default on local currency debt. Are you going to lend money cross-border? Are you going to store money in that currency? Now you're getting paid enough for it. And the only one that would have a chance right now would be the renminbi. I don't think it's going to be, right? They haven't done enough to get people to trust them. And so I don't think the dollar loses its reserve currency, but I think it loses its luster and allows other people to say, I don't trust the dollar as much. Therefore, give me some Bitcoin and gold. I've been talking Bitcoin and gold for 4 years now. Matter of fact,
Only 4?
I got my own podcast, more than that. I got my own podcast, and I got gold coins.
Right.
Like, it just sounds like hocus pocus and scams.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm happy to say we now are at a point where both Republicans and Democrats, not all of them, but enough of them get it. Like, I'm really proud that Senator Warner and Senator Gallegos, kept the center together on this genius bill. They had a big flank from the left, right? Because Elizabeth Warren, even though she had retreated a little bit, once she saw the Trump family getting engaged, she had her entry, angle. She was like, there it goes again, crypto being used to enrich these people. That's not fair. Let's sabotage all the crypto. And these guys fought back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy to do in a world as polarized as this. It is shockingly optimistic that in a Congress as polarized as this one is, we had bipartisan cooperation on the stablecoin bill. And I think we need to see decentralized systems get built. We need to see tokenization of lots of assets. And we're going to see, and I think we are going to see, your bank account and checking account and, equity, brokerage account start showing up as wallets. Like, as that transition gets done, we have an industry that provides utility to the American public, right? Right now, we all said, how important we are. If I had one more speech about what an important industry we are, I'd like, do something freaking important. Listen, Bitcoin has been wildly important. Check the box, but we're not a Bitcoin industry, right? We're a digital asset cryptocurrency industry. And other than Bitcoin and stable coins for offshore people can fund the deficit, what's exciting is once it's legitimized, real companies can then use it without worrying about, am I going to get in trouble? A lot of the difference between the different bills were how long are you going to give Tether to get compliant in the U.S.? Is it 2 years, 3 years, 18 months, right? There was a Tether back and forth. And I literally was down there. I was like, guys, flip a coin because it doesn't matter. It's going to take a couple years for this thing to kind of get implemented anyway. And the Tether guys are really smart. They will figure out a way if it's 2 years or if it's 3 years. But so that was a push. There was a push to keep Facebook and X and the social media platforms out. I think the banks are scared already. The community banks are petrified. And it's the same rationale that they don't let Walmart open a bank, right? For years, Walmart said, we should open a bank. And then we're like, okay, every person in the world's going to bank at Walmart, right? And so the non-financial players got pushed out of the stablecoin game for now.
Do you think just 5 by the end of the year? 10?
Yes. I think at least 5 more.
At least 5 more by the end of this year.
Yeah.
Okay. And what
Blockchain.com has been thinking, like lots of companies.
It feels like that would further legitimize like crypto, right? Because then you get Wall Street coverage. They can kind of like buy, right? Even things like Coinbase getting the S&P in the last couple of weeks, that's huge legitimacy for crypto. It makes this thing unstoppable. Is that right in the money?
We are much more legitimized today than we were. And the crypto community hates to hear this. What will really legitimize us is to go from being a casino to becoming a service provider. Like, again, I want to have crypto apps beyond buying and staking and selling an economic app on my phone. And like in the US, we don't even have payment, but we need to be very careful how we label things. I never thought an algorithmic stablecoin should be called a stablecoin, right? And then we did, there was a run on the bank, and that's what in part took that ecosystem down. Nomenclature is really important. Think back when Celsius and BlockFi and Voyager were around. I'm sure they had disclosure, but most people thought they were leaving deposits, and deposits in everyone's mind are guaranteed.
100%, yeah.
Not they were investing in a very levered hedge fund that had an asset liability mismatch. And so what I would love to see come out of DC is a much shorter form, but punchier disclosure around what the product actually offers. Right? When's the last time you read a disclosure on anything?
Never.
It's
Never.
the worst.
None of us do.
Yeah.
But what about, just like on the cigarette label, this might cause cancer, right? Really simple is, can we create a decentralized revolution? Can we tokenize everything and provide kind of a democracy of finance and money? And we're at we're right there at the starting line there.
When it comes to the just future of our two industries, AI and crypto, crypto started in data centers, right? It started with Bitcoin miners who professionalized, and that was the first big business in crypto. And you're seeing a parallel path with AI, like the root of it is data centers.
It's a weird historical bit of luck.
So you think it's luck, not a destiny of the future, that our industries are like intertwined in some way, or is it just a coincidence?
There's going to be part of it is,
yeah.
But the data center thing was luck.
That was luck.
Like Bitcoin miners had great ambition, as did we, and it used so much electricity. We were the only guys that owned giant swaths of electricity. Right? Doesn't mean it always will, but that was like, Mark's a pretty smart guy, and that was his moment in time decision. We see a bull market in this stuff at least for the next 3 or 4 years.
Do you think the U.S. is positioned to stay ahead of China on this, on both energy and data?
I'm the wrong expert to ask. I would never want to short the U.S. We do a lot of dumb things, but we always seem to figure it out. And I was reading recently, 36% of our Nobel Prizes and the scientists came from immigrants. And so I tweeted that, of course, I got half the MAGA people telling me I was a horrible guy. 50% of the Fortune 500, 50% of unicorn CEOs were immigrants, 50%. And so as long as we keep the pipeline of smart, as long as I was at Yale's graduation this weekend, my son graduated, shout out Nacho, as long as we don't try to devastate our great learning, institutes of learning because it becomes politically, convenient. When we went public at Fortress, it was joyous. There were 5 of us. We were the first company where 5 guys became a billionaire in a day. Actually, the only company in history, even including up till today, where 5 guys became a billionaire in a day. It was joyful. And CoreWeave got close. I think they had 3. This time, I was shocked how emotional I was. Like, I almost cried on CNBC, which I would have shot myself for since I teased the Latin for crying on CNBC. You don't cry in baseball. And I kept thinking why I was so emotional. And I think some of it is, we were looked at as drug dealers at one point. Like, our industry has gone through hell.
Yep.
Forget 90% downdrafts, 2018 and 2022, 90% and 70%. Being persecuted and prosecuted, I keep using those 2 words, going through the thing with the AG, and it just felt very emotional to ring that bell. And that surprised me. The I said the herd was coming. I was freaking 7 years old.
Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and enabling post notifications for more content on crypto and digital assets. Check out our other videos and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps with the YouTube algorithm and keeps the content coming. Thanks for your support.